My best friend Rivka was quiet and full of fantasies, just as I was. So many afternoons of our childhood turned into evening while we sat together and read. And yes, we got books from the library, even though it was forbidden. This is how I came to know Ramona Quimby and Winnie the Pooh, and later Josephine March, Elizabeth Bennet. Sometimes Rivka would sigh while reading, and I'd say, "No, what is it?" But one comes to see that it is very hard to explain a passage in a book that someone else has never read. Rivka was so invisible in her home, she could use it to her advantage. Sometimes she would sneak into Manhattan, to museums. And so it was that leaning over to tie her shoe in the Temple of Dendor, she met Harold. Harold was not Jewish. Harold was African American. Harold taught environmental science at the University of Albany. Needless to say, Harold did not fit in with the community. I heard the most shameful things said about it. Awful. So Rivka left. Off the derrick. Some people said she'd lost it. Savet gurnish helf. But if Rivka and Harold don't have the most beautiful children in the world, and if Rivka is not one of the happiest women I know, I mean, if Rivka's crazy, then sign me up for the asylum. Once I persuaded Shmuley to let me go visit her. Never very difficult. I was 28 and pregnant with our third child. When I arrive, she won't let me help with anything. Even though she has little Sophie, only 1 month in the world, and 2 older kids who don't lift a finger. Later that night, she pours herself a very full glass of wine, and she tells me she's no longer spiritual, but if she were, she'd make a blessing over this. She pulls a small circular case from out of a drawer and she says, "These are pills that stop the body from conceiving a child." I stare at them. She says she has had her last child, laughing. But I don't see what's so funny. Of course there will always be a last child, but I prefer not to know that while I'm nursing him, while I'm holding him in my arms in the middle of the night. Rivka shrugs. Willful ignorance, she says. An abdication of your power. But suit yourself. And one day, while Harold cooks bacon and the children read the newspaper, my friend asks me what I want. I say, "No bacon for me, thank you." She smiles and says, "No, in life, out of life." Just then the baby kicks, and I know all of a sudden it's a boy, my first and only boy, my last child. And there he is, sitting at the table with me, an old man whom I will never know. And he says to me, "Mama, did you get the things you wanted in life?" I don't know how to answer. Who really understands whether or not they are unhappy?